Good morning. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025. What is required of a Jew by God in the mitzvos, the commandments of the Torah, is not just what some people might refer to as religious. And this week's Torah portion, the Parsha of Kiseitze, is perhaps the best example of that. It has a large number of mitzvos, and when we look at them, they cover every aspect of life. Every single area of life is to be sanctified by God's laws in some way. There are subjects that are holy, and there are subjects that are mundane. And all of them have a way that God wants us to act in that situation. And as you study the Torah portion, you'll see so many examples. Most people who don't study the Torah would never think these would be included as commandments that God would give to the Jewish people. But they are. Including the following. Lo sacharosh b'shor u'b'chamor yachtov. If you have a plow, you're doing farm work, you're plowing a field. So you have a couple of animals that are attached to the plow. So normally you would take 2 bulls or 2 horses or 2 donkeys, which is fine. You could take 2, 4, whatever you need for whatever the job is. But lo sacharosh b'shor u'b'chamor yachtov. You are not allowed to yoke to a plow a bull and a donkey. You can't take 2 separate animals, a horse and a cow. You're not allowed to have 2 different animals, species of animals, pulling the same load or working the same machinery. Why not? If they're all animals that are capable of pulling, why can't they be mixed and matched? So Rabbi Aharon of Barcelona wrote a work called the Chinuch, and it is his description of each of the 613 commandments in the Torah. And very often he gives us the reasons to the best that we can understand, the reasons for these mitzvos. And he also gives us the main requirements and content. So he says as follows. Ki mitame ha-mitzvah zu, among the different reasons for this mitzvah, inyan tsar balei chayim, is concerned the prohibition of causing unnecessary pain to an animal. Shehu asur min ha-Torah. This is a Torah prohibition. It is a Torah prohibition to cause unnecessary pain to animals. And there are many, many mitzvos in the Torah that are subsumed under this category. Many, many actions concerning our treatment of animals requires that we withhold from tsar balei chayim, withhold from causing unnecessary pain to animals. And that applies to all animals. It applies to wild animals. It applies to insects that fly into your house. It applies to your pets. And it's a very serious prohibition. So, what does tsar balei chayim have to do with plowing 2 different animals yoked together to the same plow? Sheyesh lemine habehemas ulaofos daga gedola lishkon im she'enan minam. Animals, as well as birds, have great anxiety when they have to be working together with another species. Especially when doing work, even just to have to stay together. Animals don't like to do that. They like to stay with their own kind. We see this in the wild among animals. You see in the wild, you see horses stay together, and elephants stay together, and lions stay together, and tigers stay together. They all stay together. And therefore, to cause two different species of animals to pull the plow or the other implement would cause them anxiety. Now let's pay attention, because we're not talking about physical pain to the animal. Yes, of course, that's covered by Tzar Bali Chayim, yes. But even emotional pain is caused by Tzar Bali Chayim. And that means it's very, very practical. And it could be very practical if you have pets or if you're around animals, to taunt an animal. Even if it's a pet, to lock it up in a cage more severely than is necessary. To do anything that causes the animal to be agitated. That is included in this prohibition, because it is not only physical pain, just like for a person who is in physical pain, certain laws are set aside. For a person in emotional pain, likewise, those laws are set aside. Similarly for animals, it's prohibited to cause physical pain, and it is likewise prohibited to cause emotional pain, anxiety, depression. Now he adds, V'chol chacham leiv mizeh yikach musar. Any thinking person should be able to derive the lesson from this. Shlo limnos shnei anosim la'olam b'davar mikol advarim sheyi rechokim b'tivam u'meshunim b'hanhagasam. It applies to people also. You should never choose two people to work on a task whose character is so different from each other that they're not able to work together. If you have you assign two people to a task, and one is quick and the other is slow, or one is very neat and the other is sloppy, they drive each other crazy. Shehimikpira Torah al etzar sheyesh bezel b'alei chayim she'enan b'nei seichel. If the Torah tells us not to pair two different animals together because it will cause them anxiety, kosh kein b'nei adam asher lenefesh maskeles l'das yotzram. For sure, for human beings who have the capability of thinking and understanding and wisdom, that they should not be put together. Rabbi Dr. Twersky, Abraham Twersky, writes this a little bit more clearly. This principle should be applied to any relationship that requires cooperative effort, whether it be social, marital, or occupational. Now, yes, of course, it is certainly possible for two people that have differences between them to be able to get married and be very happy. Of course it's possible. But if the differences between them cause ongoing friction all the time, then compelling incompatible people to work together is included in this prohibition. You cannot cause emotional pain to animals. There's a trend over the last number of years of people taking their pets to therapists. The pet is depressed, the pet is anxious. Now, I must confess that I'm not so knowledgeable about animals, and I'm not so knowledgeable about what kind of therapy can be provided, and I'm not at all knowledgeable about whether this is actually helpful or helpful for the owner or helpful for the animal. I really don't know that much about it. But the idea of it is a Torah idea. We are required to look after the emotional well-being of animals as well as the physical needs of animals. The person who probably knows more about this than anyone else in the world, perhaps, is Dr. Temple Grandin. You may have heard of her name. You may have heard me refer to her. She is a remarkable woman. She's a professor of animal science in Colorado. And she is widely considered to be the world authority on designing equipment to handle animals. For example, in a meat packing plant, animals are led to slaughter. Now, in some places, the animals go very, very calmly and very, very quietly. And in other places, the animals, and it's obvious, are very agitated. They are dangerous, and it causes more injuries to themselves and more injuries to the workers. And this, of course, is a very serious concern in keeping kosher because we're not allowed to cause emotional anxiety to an animal. And also, if the animal could injure itself physically, it could end up that animal might end up being non-kosher. So Temple Grandin realized, as a young woman, that animals feel emotion and that animals think in pictures. They perceive based on the smells and the sights they encounter. So if the machinery and the environment is designed properly to reduce what the animal sees and smells, those animals are more calm. And the animals and the workers are more safe. Again, as I said, particularly this is important for kosher meat processing, because Jewish law requires animals not to be anxious even as they approach slaughter. And yes, so I understand the irony of that we're taking their lives, but we're allowed to do that as long as we're using the least amount of pain, and not only physical pain, but emotional pain. So Temple Grandin is able to design this machinery in a way that reduces that anxiety, allowing kosher meat packing places to be able to be in fulfillment of this verse, not to cause anxiety to animals, even as they approach slaughter. And Dr. Grandin has designed machinery specifically for kosher meat plants that has tremendous success in reducing the anxiety of animals. And she does her work all over the world. Temple Grandin is a woman who has autism. Until the age of 3.5, her only communication was screaming and humming. Her autism causes her to think in pictures. And that's actually the name of the first of one of her many books that she's written, Thinking in Pictures. Such that because of her autism, she is able in her mind to imagine an animal going through the machinery she is designing so that she can see what the animal sees, she can hear what the animal hears, she can smell what the animal smells, and she can feel what the animal feels. And based on that, she can create machinery that provides an environment that is calming and soothing, something that frankly no one else has been able to do. Temple Grandin is a hero to many, many people. She's a hero to those with autism. She is a hero to animal lovers. And she is a hero to those in the kosher meat business because she can create systems that fulfill this requirement. A number of years ago, there was a movie made about Temple Grandin. It starred Claire Danes. I thought it was a great movie. I recommend it to you. I don't remember the title, but I'm sure you can find it. The title might be Temple Grandin, but I'm not sure about that. But here's a wider lesson. Everyone has things that they can do in life and things that they cannot do in life. Everyone. Everyone has shortcomings in life. Illness, disaster, cruelty, poverty, hardship. But there are great differences in how we respond. So there was an amazing article in the New York Times a few years ago, written by Jane Brody. It's from 2007. And it's an incredible article. She starts, "Can getting cancer make you happy?" For Betty Rollin, survivor of 2 breast cancers, there's no question about it. In her newest book, Here's the Bright Side, Rollin writes, "I woke up one morning and realized I was happy. This struck me as weird. Not that I didn't have all kinds of things to be happy about: love, work, good health, enough money, the usual happy-making stuff. The weird part is, I realized that the source of my happiness was, of all things, cancer. Cancer had everything to do with how good the good parts of my life were." Her realization is hardly unique. Brody writes, "I have often met and read about countless people who, having faced life-threatening illnesses, end up happier, better able to appreciate the good things and people in their lives. In short, they often wind up ahead. Now, this is not to suggest that battling cancer is pleasurable. Frustration, anger, and grief are natural reactions. Cancer forces people to put their lives on hold. It can cause considerable physical and emotional pain and lasting disfigurement, and it may even end in death, God forbid. But for many people who make it through, and even for some who do not, the experience gives them a new perspective on life and the people in it. It is as if their antenna become more finely tuned by having faced a mortal threat. A woman with incurable ovarian cancer told the New York Times, "I treat every day as an adventure, and I refuse to let anything make me sad, angry, or worried. I live for the day, which is something I never did before. And believe it or not, I am happier now than I was before I was diagnosed with this terminal cancer." Dr. Wendy Harpham is a survivor of recurrent chronic lymphoma. Her latest book is called Happiness in a Storm. And she writes, without a doubt, illness is bad. Yet survivorship, meaning from the time of diagnosis and for the balance of life, can include times of great joy among the hardships. You can find happiness. Chances are the opportunities for happiness are right in front of you. And she concludes, happiness in a storm is never about enjoying your illness, but embracing your life within the limits of your illness and figuring out how to be happy whenever possible. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Keli, Keli, lama azavtani. My God, why have you forsaken me? It is a question that all of us ask at some point in our lives. Why, God? Why the Holocaust? Why October 7th? Why me? Keli, Keli, lama azavtani. Why have you abandoned me, God? It's a persistent question. It's a valid question. Everyone tries to answer it. No one does. There is no answer to the question of why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to us? Rabbi Shamshon Hirsch suggests that we read the word with different vowels. Keli, Keli, my God, my God. The next word is lama. Lama is lamed memhe. Hirsch says, read it with different vowels. Lema. Same letters, lamed memhe, but not lama, which means why, but lema. For what purpose? In this question, I am asking myself, lema azavtani. For what reason? For what purpose have you appeared to abandon me? What am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to be able to do with this that I would not have been able to do if this terrible thing had not happened to me? Of course, I don't want it to happen to me. And I don't know why you caused it to happen to me, God. But now that it has happened, what can I learn from it to make me a better person? And that's what the people in Jane Brody's article have done about cancer. And that is what Temple Grandin has done with her autism. They have used that and not said lama, why is this happening, but lema, what am I supposed to learn from it? And when we ask that question, it's a whole different question, because to that question there are answers. If we can also ask that second question, the first question is valid. We all ask it. Lama zavtani, why did you forsake me, God? That's normal, that's natural. We all ask that. But if we can also ask the second question, Lama azavtani, how am I supposed to be better as a result of what's happened to me? Then we can accomplish what seems impossible, to allow our misfortunes to improve our lives. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person. Thank you.